Welcome to Killer Women with your host, best-selling author Danielle Girard. And now, Danielle's next killer woman.
Hello, and welcome to Killer Women Podcast, a proud member of the Authors on the Air global network with more than 4 million listeners. I am your host, suspense author Danielle Girard, and my guest today is Isha Raya. Isha is an author of psychological thrillers featuring questionable morals, mastermind schemes, and brown women who get to be anything from superstars to supervillains. She graduated from the University of Texas with a degree in biology and currently resides in the depths of your mind. You'll Never Forget Me is her debut novel. Welcome.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here.
Such a fun cover. If you're listening to us and not watching, you'll have to go online and take a look at the cover of Isha's book because it's gorgeous and very sexy and fun. So first of all, this is Isha's debut novel, obviously, but it's also the first book you've ever written, which I think is very few people, in my experience, have published their first book. So published the first book they've written, if that makes sense. So I thought it'd be fun for you to tell us a little bit about the experience of, getting an agent, and then the moment you found out your book was going to be published. And then I'm curious, we'll talk a little bit more about how you write and all that kind of thing. So will you start by telling us sort of when you knew your book was done, how did you go about sending to agents? How many did you send to? How long did you wait? All that fun stuff.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I wrote one book before that, and then
Okay.
like while I was revising, I like started working on another one. But yeah, this was like my first one that I felt was really like all the way there, kind of.
That you
I
sent out, the first one you submitted.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and I had the I had the feeling, I'm not sure if other authors can relate to this, but where when I finished it, I like had the feeling that it was something special. Like I could keep coming back to it and not get sick of it, no matter how many revisions I did of it. No matter like the feedback I got on it, I was still really happy with it.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew like I wanted to pursue publishing it. And as you know, I my degree was in biology, so I wasn't really considering being an author at all. I thought it would be interesting to like see where it could go, but I wasn't really expecting anything from it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, my I think I finished writing around the time of DV Pit, Diverse Voices Pit. I don't know if you're familiar.
No, but tell us, because that's actually another really wonderful thing. So tell us about more about that.
So Diverse Voices Pit is a pitching event. It's currently on Discord, I believe, or I think they might have moved to Blue Sky, but it used to be on Twitter. I joined when they moved over to Discord. And they have like a bunch of agents and editors on there. So whenever you pitch your book, an agent might like it, and then that they're interested in reading it, or an editor might comment, and then you can like send it to them when you're on submission and things like that, which is really cool because querying is kind of stressful in that you kind of
Yeah.
send it out and you don't know if they're going to be interested. So this is kind of a fun way to like flip the script, and you at least know that they want to read it or at least are intrigued by it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you end up submitting sort of to the agents uh, solely based on the people that you'd met there?
No, so Diverse Voices Pit, before it even started, they had this query critique giveaway.
Uh-huh.
And there was an agent who was reading through queries and then giving critiques on them so that you could, improve it whenever you eventually send it out. And I met my agent actually through that.
Yeah.
Like critiqued my query and she ended up liking it. So she said, "Can you send me the first 100 pages whenever it's ready?" Which was really, really cool. I wasn't expecting that to
Great.
be the takeaway from DB Pit because I did get like very lucky to get a few like agent likes, an editor comment from the event itself. But I ended up signing with the agent who critiqued my query, and I don't even know if she was participating, which was really funny.
That's so funny. So, Isha and I are actually agent sisters. We have the
Mhm.
same agency, not the same agent, but the same agency. So that's how
Mhm.
we met. So that all happened kind of beautifully. So okay, so you signed with your agent, and then did you do revisions with her before it went out on submission?
I did. We did around a 2 month like period of
Mhm.
submissions. We did one really like developmental type of one, and then one really short like grammar and like
Yeah.
copy editing type of thing. And so the next year. It was in December we were doing these copy edits and stuff. And so then the next year in I think towards the end of February is when we sent it out to editors on submission.
And when was that? So we're right now in December. Was that a year ago, February, or was that this February?
I think it was February 2024.
Okay, okay.
Hmm.
So what was that process like? Did you have a long list of editors? I'm curious to know how, I mean, if you're willing to share, tell us
Yeah,
about
of
that.
course. Yeah, my agent, Amy Bishop Eilish, she's amazing. She's very good at her job. She like any good agent, she has a working relationship with a lot of editors, so she meets with them beforehand and like pitches books to them. And so whenever you eventually go on sub, they're a little bit intrigued by it. They're ready to read it.
Yeah.
And so she sent me my list of editors. I got to like look at them and they were all like really amazing and I was really excited about like who all we were going to submit to. I think I can't remember how long the list was. It was quite a few editors on there
Yeah.
and yeah, I think the first week that we sent it out, we already had a response from one of them, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
really.
and then you ended up, and your book is coming out from Bantam.
Mhm.
And then did you get it? Is it a one book deal? Is it a two book deal?
Yeah, it's a two-book deal. It was kind of crazy because I was on the call with my editor, Jenny Chen,
Yeah.
and she was asking me about if I had any other projects I was working on, and I kind of had this idea that I was in the back of my mind. I hadn't even started outlining it. I hadn't told my agent about it, but I just kind of threw out that, yeah, I'm kind of like thinking about doing a heist novel. And whenever she came back with the deal, my agent was like, "Oh, it's for two books." And I was like, "What's the second book?" And she was like, "Oh, the one you mentioned, like in passing." And I was like, "That's crazy. I can't believe she was interested in it, like right off the
Yeah.
bat."
That's so exciting. So, so the book is about Hollywood, which is so
Mhm.
interesting. And actually, did I even ask you to tell us about it? Did I get so excited about
Oh my gosh. I think
I
I forgot too.
Whoa, sorry guys. I got so excited about this being Isha's debut. Before we get any further,
Mhm.
tell everybody about You'll Never Forget Me.
All right, yeah. So no, You'll Never Forget Me is a sapphic thriller. It's for fans of Killing Eve, Yellowface, First Lie Wins. It's about Dimple Kapoor, who is a struggling actress, and she accidentally kills her rival and lands her dream starring role because of it. And
Mhm.
so, as she's kind of cleaning up her mess, she has to evade the private investigator on her trail, who's Safi, and they also have to kind of fight this growing fascination that they have with each other.
So yeah, so I was gonna ask, 'cause I was all of a sudden like, wait, we didn't even hear about your story. I guess I got ahead of myself. But I love the fact that it's set in Hollywood, and I'm curious because you're living in New York, you went to school in Texas, so you don't have a background in Hollywood that I could see, at least from your bio. So tell us, what, why Hollywood? What was interesting about that?
Yeah, I kind of fell into that just sort of naturally. So I wanted to write about a villain character. That's what I knew when I set out writing this book. And the next thought I had was, okay, I'll write about an assassin. And so I kind of started looking into what would be maybe a good day job or a cover story for an assassin. And I kind of noticed that like serial killing and being an actor kind of have a lot of transferable skills.
I
Like you
love
have to
that.
be right, you have to be good at lying, you have to be charming, like you have to be good at improvisation. And so as I did more research into Hollywood, it kind of ended up naturally taking over the story. And it kind of lends itself as a setting to so much like festering resentment and like
Mhm.
betrayal and ambition. And it was just so fun to like look into. I haven't been to LA much. I've been, I think, twice in my life. I went for Y'all West a couple years ago, and that was really fun.
I don't know
But
what that
yeah.
is, but is that like is it a conference of writers or?
Yeah, it was actually Y'all Fest. Yeah, it's a YA book festival.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay, fun. Yeah, and so I love to talk about that. You decided you wanted to write a villain character. So, what did that mean to you?
Yeah, I love villains. I've always been really drawn to villains in media because they get to be so unhinged and dramatic, and that's what I like to write. I really like to write over the top characters and over the top circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, And then there's also a history in media of like villains being very queer coded, which I think is very interesting. And
Mm,
these are kind of like beloved characters like Ursula from The Little Mermaid and like
mm.
Kim from the Powerpuff Girls. And everyone really loves these characters, but they don't get a lot of depth, which I
Yeah.
think this is me kind of expanding on that and
Yeah.
like kind of reclaiming that in a way too. And it's just really fun too.
And so now the book that you're working on, the heist book, is it the heist? Did it end up being a heist book?
It is, yes.
Okay, and so is that sort of are you returning to the villain characters? Is that going to be like, is that the thing that we will expect from, Isha books, is these complex villain protagonists? I mean, really, in some ways, right? She's a villain protagonist because we're rooting for her, and also we know that she's not all good, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think for now that is what I'm very compelled to write. I
Mm,
think a lot of my stories that I want to tell these days are about like ambition. And
mm.
so, when I'm writing stories, I don't know what makes me like want to turn to like villainy because ambition just has so much, there's so much like greed, there's so much um
Yeah,
like selfishness to
yeah.
it in a way. And so it sort of kind of turns into that. And yeah, the heist book does have the characters, they're all criminals. They're wanting to steal things.
Well, and I love the idea also that we have two women here, on opposite sides of the law, really, who are
Hmm.
both super ambitious. And I think that's an interesting commentary too, and worth exploring, right? Like, because of course, female ambition has a whole different connotation, right, than male ambition. And I imagine when you were, working, you also are confronting some gender bias, and right, women are not supposed to be
Yeah.
ambitious in the same way that men are ambitious, at least not traditionally, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. And I think that's might be what leads to the villainous aspect because so many ambitious women get villainized just
Yeah.
naturally through the eyes of like the public. And so
Yeah.
I guess this is kind of like if you're gonna see her as a villain anyway, she might as well be one, you
She might
know.
as well, yeah, she might as well kill someone because that's,
Right.
she might as well lean in, and she does that. Really, she's quite good at that, actually.
Yeah.
So that's so fun. And then I love the Safi character too, because sort of, and when you started writing that book, were they both in place? I wondered if maybe Dimple was sort of the main, if Safi sort of emerged at a later point, or, did you outline the book? How did you go about writing the story?
Yeah, so I knew right away that I wanted Dimple to be a character in it. I knew who she was going to be to start out with, and she's such a like larger than life character that I think she needs kind of a partner who's also larger than life to kind
Yeah.
of it's weird it weirdly grounds them in a way because they're both so insane.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I did want them to I like the cat and mouse dynamic, and so I knew that if she's gonna be this really like smart person, she needs someone else who's gonna oppose her to because otherwise she's just gonna keep getting away with things and she's just
Right.
gonna like it's a boring story to read if she's just, perfect. And so I thought they're really fun foils too.
Yeah, and there's some, I mean, and the dynamic between them as it grows through the book is really fun and interesting. So, and we won't spoil it, so you have to go read it. But so was Safi part of the original story for you, or did she emerge as sort of that to be the sort of counterpart to Dimple's bigness, if you will?
She was there from the start. I
Yeah,
think I did like in my notes app idea, I started with Dimple and then Safi kind of came in the outline,
yeah.
but they were there from the very, very beginning.
Yeah. So how
Mhm.
has it changed? Like, if you look back on the sort of the first way you wrote the book, has it changed? Or do you feel like it's because I feel like sometimes, with stories we write it one way and then we realize like there's things, and we sort of twist it inside out and a lot of it changes. Has that been your experience, or is it really still so much like how you wrote it originally?
So this is my first published book.
Yeah.
It's very it was a very yeah, the process of editing it was really intense, but most of my editing actually happened with beta readers, like before
Yeah.
I even had my agent.
Yeah.
So I had a few beta readers look over it, and like one of my closest friends, Leah, she she like looked over it and she had some like notes about the ending, my original ending. She was
Yeah.
like, this doesn't really fit the characters.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
I was
It's
like, you're
always so
so right.
useful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
I was like,
great
I
when you
didn't
got
realize that.
somebody who's like super smart about that? Yeah.
Hmm. And so I was like, you're so right. So I went back to the drawing board. And so that was the probably the biggest change I made is I completely revamped the ending. But that was before I ever sent it to my agent or my editor. With my agent editor, it was very like minor changes. There was like I think with my editor, I added one death to the manuscript, and that was
Okay.
really fun. Um, but other than that, there weren't any huge like developmental things or anything like that.
So do you feel like if you were to, to meet somebody who's, doing kind of where you were like 3 years ago, or, written a book and or writing a book, what would you sort of say that what were the things you wish you'd known when you were going through that process that you sort of feel like you're smarter about now?
Um, I was actually thinking about this because I have a lot of friends right now who are querying.
Yeah.
And when I was querying, I was a little bit naive about things. I didn't do as much research as I could because, there are a lot of really great agents, a lot of also like really questionable agents.
Yeah.
And I kind of it really depends on your book, right? And your career. I wasn't really thinking, I was like, this is my book. I want to publish it. I wasn't thinking, what do I want to do long term?
Yeah.
What do I want out of my writing career? And so I would say think about what kind of stories you want to write long term. If you want to be like a full-time author, if you want to like write, a certain genre and things like that are things to consider. I'm very lucky because it ended up working out kind of perfectly for me. My agent is incredible. My like, my publisher is amazing, and so that was really fun. And I like writing thrillers, which worked out. But if I like finished writing this book and I decided, oh, I hate thrillers, I don't know what I would do.
Although I think like so I feel like when I started writing books, which was 100 years ago, it was very much stay in your lane. But now look at like people like Ashley Winstead. I mean, she writes romance, drama, suspense, and I think there's a lot more. It may not be with the same publisher and the same editor, but I feel like there's a lot more flexibility in what you're not stuck doing one thing, which it was
100%,
very
yeah.
much that way. I feel like when I started.
Hmm.
So I think that's a gift. But yeah, I mean, I think a publisher wants a couple, you would want to be able to write a couple of thrillers before you were like, now
100%.
I want to write, a family saga or, but I think that's totally true. So that's
Hmm.
fair. Well, and also, yeah, to look at it as like career, right? I mean,
Yeah.
now you're like, wow, this is going to be my career.
Hmm.
That's kind of a crazy thing.
It is, yeah. I think it's really important to consider those things. And I do like that it's more open now because I like being creative, and so it's nice to have those doors open, like you mentioned. And even like R.F. Kuang, she writes like all kinds of genres, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's right, exactly. And then,
Hmm.
I mean, I think so. I love the idea that you're like, I write brown women.
Hmm.
Because, that's another thing I think is, you might not have seen a lot of as much literature, thriller literature, like in the past that represents women like you. So you get to come
Hmm.
with a different. So how was that about, did you feel like, was it kind of like, did you have a moment where you're like, you're writing somebody who's looks like you and so were there things you wanted to make sure that you sort of explored or that I mean, stereotypes you wanted to fight or anything that sort of like, what did that responsibility feel like? Or were you just like, this is who I am, so this is of course what I'm going to write.
Yeah, I actually realized when I was writing, that because she's an actress, I didn't know that there weren't any like Indian women who've won Best Actress, like the Oscar, which was
Right.
so crazy to learn.
Right.
Um, and I was like, so is it even possible that she could become a really successful actress in this world? Which I think is nice because lately we've seen a lot of really cool actresses, doing really well in Hollywood. Like,
Yeah.
there's like Avantika and like Priyanka Chopra and like so
Yeah.
many
There
very,
are, yeah,
very,
finally,
mhm,
right? We're seeing
right?
people, right. Yeah.
And it's nice also now that I have like face claims for my characters. I'm like, oh yeah, she looks like this and she could play her in the like, potential
Yeah,
movie
when
one
when they
day.
make the movie, right? Of course, we
Hmm.
all do that. When they make the movie, this is who will play the characters. Yeah,
Exactly.
otherwise you would have had no one to choose from. I mean, it's not been that long, really, since
Hmm.
we've had a really like a deep availability of actresses from different, other than, very basically black and white. I mean, right? Not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of.
yeah.
So I think that's no, I love that you and the surrounding cast too, right? I mean, this is like you've made a beautiful world of people, and it feels like you explored some themes of of the expectations too from sort of not deeply into the cultural stuff, but touching on it because I think that we all want to, that's how we learn about different types of people.
Yeah,
So,
100%. I also and like in the first chapter, it's explored that, Dimple, the reason she's having so much trouble in Hollywood is because she's competing against another South Asian actress. And
Yeah.
they're like, there can only be one. Like, you look too
Yes.
similar.
Right.
And
Which
that's
actually is a thing, right? It's
right,
a thing.
100%. And so I thought that was really important to
Yeah.
make it part of her origin story about why she's fighting so hard for this and why it's so hard for her. Um, and it's kind of, true to life where they kind of pit, South Asian women against each other a lot. And it's really
Right.
sad.
Right. And here's one who has, one that had many more resources versus
Exactly.
Dimple. So obviously her plight was easier, right? I mean, there's that.
Hmm.
Those are obviously the things we all experience universally. So that's wonderful.
Hmm.
So, when you started this, well, I think you're done. You and I talked offline about the next
Hmm.
book, and you're done with that, I know. So, when you were writing that second book, because everybody talks about the sophomore novel, and there's
Hmm.
all this pressure, and did it feel different when you were working on that book? Did you sort of in the back of your mind were there, warning bells or worries, or did it just you're just like this is just another book and this is how it goes?
Yeah, it was so different. I think you were telling me that every single book is a different writing process.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
have no, it's so true. I haven't felt that as much as I have with the second book just because it's so different. Like I wasn't expecting it to be like so complete with the original book. I with my, debut novel, I wrote my outline and then I wrote the story and then I revised it. With my second book, I wrote the outline, the story, and then I completely changed the story, did a new outline, and then wrote a second new story. And so I was not expecting that to be like the outcome of it.
And did that come from you or did that come from your editor?
It was partially like me knowing that I didn't like it, but also my editor kind of picking up on it and being like,
Yeah.
maybe we should go a different direction. She was totally right because I
Yeah.
like this direction a lot more. But
Good.
yeah. Hmm.
That's super. Yeah. And so, and do you feel like, did you learn something in writing that second book that you feel like, okay, now I feel like I'll be better prepared to go to the third book?
I think I did, but it's so bad. Every time I start drafting a new book, it's like I forget everything that I know. And then I start on the first chapter, I'm like, why isn't this incredibly amazing already? Like, why is it not fully edited? Why am I not, why am I not immediately like fully polished? But I think I have to keep reminding myself every time I start drafting, of the things that I've learned. I think that, one thing I will take with me is that I used to be more hesitant about changing things. Now I'm completely fine with it. Like if I have to revamp something, I'll just change it. Like I won't like sit on it. I used to have the thing where I would like leave something in even though it's not working, and then I would have beta readers and like my agent tell me this isn't working, and I would be like, no, it is working. Trust me,
I
I
love
don't have to
it.
change it.
It's the killing your darlings part that's
Hmm.
so hard, right? We don't want to,
Hmm.
I mean, we hate to kill our darlings. Of course we do. That's torture. So
Hmm.
do we know when the heist book will be coming out?
Not yet. Not yet.
It's so exciting. And does
Hmm.
that mean then you're working on a new book?
Um, I
Or
I have
taking a
like
breath?
a
Yeah.
taking a breath. I have an idea of what I want to work on, but I'm still like ruminating on the idea a little bit.
I love that. And so, I mean, you are writing full time, right? Now
I
that's,
am.
yeah,
Hmm.
which is amazing. So do you feel like, I mean, and did you write while working? The first book, were you working on something else or at a job while you were writing?
I was partially in like my last year of college, and then
Mhm.
I started working at a lab. Like I
Okay.
graduated in between.
Yeah. So I mean, does it feel different to get to write full time? Like, how does it? Sometimes people have said, sometimes you get more done when you have more to do. I mean, and that I can feel that way when I have like 10 things to do. I'm likely to get through a few of them. If I have one thing to do, I'm likely to not get it
Hmm.
done.
Hmm.
So, how is it different now to get to write full time?
It's it's definitely it's definitely more fun. I think I prefer writing full time for sure. I mean, I think like any author would. It's really
Yeah.
fun. But I will say it is like true to an extent. I remember 1 month when I was working full time, I wrote 50,000 words in 1 month, like
Yeah.
working 9 to 5. Um, and but then like nowadays I can kind of structure my days more loosely. Like I can write 5,000 words one day and then like, 500 words the next day.
Yeah.
And that's really good because you can never tell when you're gonna feel the burnout. You never know you're gonna get like writer's block. And so having the flexibility is really, really like nice and I really appreciate it. Like
Yeah.
I'm humbled to have that.
Yeah, it's an incredible gift. And like you said, I mean, in this business, not a lot of people get to do that. So that is
Hmm.
amazing. So, well, it was so fun. We will have a copy of You'll Never Forget by Isha Raya, on our Facebook page, which is, Killer Women Facebook group, or over on Instagram at Killer Women Podcast. So take a look for that. That'll be coming, a beautiful, gorgeous copy. And you got to go see, because I can't wait to see what they do with your next book, because of course it'll have a similar look, and her cover is super, super gorgeous. So, tell us where to find you online. If people want to see, like, where you are and what you're up to, where are you?
I am at the Isha Raya on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, less so on Twitter, but mostly Instagram, TikTok.
Got it. Okay,
Mhm.
that Isha Raya. Well, that's easy. And Isha is Isha, Raya, Raya, if you're listening and not watching. It was so fun, to get a chance. Isha and I have gotten to know each other over the last few months, and it was really fun to get to read your book, Isha. So thank you for
Oh,
being on the
thank you
show
so
today.
much. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Absolutely. Everyone, thanks for joining us on Killer Women today with debut author Isha Raya, and we will see you next time. Bye.